Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another installment of Showtime with Jordan von Haslow and friends on Hot 702.5 Las Vegas. Today I have another really special friend, a relatively new friend actually. We met in December. I think it was December. It was December, yeah?
Right, yeah, right about that time. Yeah.
I went out to, I think, the Rampart Casino with my friend Sue-Ann Carwell, who's actually been a guest on our show, and to see this band, and they were bad. And when I say bad, I mean bad good. And they really cook. And I think I've probably seen damn near every show they've put on between December until lockdown. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome my friend Tre'sure. Thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, man. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So how have you been spending your spring break?
Is that what you call it?
That's what I call it. If Martha Stewart can call go to jail for time at Yale, I can call this spring break.
Yeah, that's a positive way of looking at it. Spring break, time to reflect on everything, man. I tell you, man. But no, I've been just making the most of it. You know, first of all, I didn't realize how much rest I needed because I've been going for the past steady for about the past 16 years. I mean, almost every week or weekend, you know, and, you know, it's just like God just said, you know, everybody have their own unique situation. And I think mine was, all right, time to shut down, reboot, reflect, everybody, but, you know, based on your relationship and what you need to do in your life. So I've just been making the most of it. Had to rest up, starting back writing music and, you know, fine tuning what my approach is going to be when we go back to work, you know, when things clear up, whenever that may be.
Totally. And that's the really strange thing. I've been talking to my other friends who are in live entertainment, whether that be theater or whether they're, you know, musicians and club scene. And even myself, like I was working on a brand new show that I thought was going to open here in Vegas in June. And it's like, stop. And it's not just stop. It's like, oh, wait. When is live entertainment actually coming back? And I know I think you work more than anybody I know. I know that when Sue-Ann started singing with your band, she showed me like your schedule for the year, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I imagine you've spent a lot of this time kind of refiguring out like what the new model is, because I personally don't think that, I know, you know, Vegas is reopening and they're reopening the casinos, but I think it's going to be a really long time before there's live music every night in all the lounges and from the crowd perspective, you know? So what are you thinking about that with regards to how you move forward?
I'm seeing it the same way. I think a lot of promoters and agents, they're hoping that something opens soon because I think everybody is really thinking about really kind of lining their pockets, and they're trying to push something that that we have a little control over, in a sense of like how the governor puts out about, you know, we're going into phase 1 in Las Vegas, and say the social distancing, the places that he is allowed to open, saying you go in at 50%. You know, as far as your capacity, what they can have in a restaurant or a barbershop or wherever the case may be, or less, long as we practice the social distancing. And if things seem to get out of control and the COVID-19 starts to peak, then he's going to go back to zero. You know? So that's what I say, what little bit of control we have over it. But the pandemic itself, you know, it is what it is. So I think before we start seeing really big crowds of like the entertainment, some of the bars and clubs, I don't think that's going to happen for a minute or two, because people are afraid, and people who are responsible in leadership positions, they have to make, you know, sound judgment calls, because it's really more about saving lives than really making money. Even though our economy is an issue, and we need to get to work and make money, but you know, what's more important? It's going to always be there. We just have to suck it up for the time being.
Well, there's no paycheck if you're dead, right?
hello, you can't make no money dead. There you go, man. Some of us have been so spoiled in our lives through the years in some areas that, you know, as soon as they miss $2, they freak out.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know how to survive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or struggle a little bit, you know.
I am, you know, I'm concerned about Las Vegas in the sense that, and I'm still new to Las Vegas. I've been here since November,
Right.
but I've come to love the city immensely, very, very quickly. But I just don't know. Like I remember a couple of weeks ago maybe it was 3 weeks ago now, when the mayor had her little conversation with Anderson Cooper, and she's like, you know, there's 150,000 rooms. We need to reopen. I don't see how the Strip is gonna be the Strip again for a very long time. Like what I see, and I think that this is good for you, I think the local casinos are gonna do gangbusters, because I think the locals are like, okay, we want, you know, we're sick of being indoors. We want to socialize and see our friends again. But with the Strip, man, like even if it's open, who's traveling, right? Who's traveling? Who feels safe to get on? And also after so many people being unemployed, even if you do feel safe, who's going to have the money to spend a weekend?
All of those. All of the above. All of the above. I mean, it's really, man, you really, 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 I mean, individually, we have to really think about what's best for our lives individually first, you know, because, you know, it's, I mean, and thinking of the economy and everybody, but, you know, you gotta take some ownership and responsibility for yourself first, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's really a true test. You know, it's really a true test for everybody.
Yeah.
I know when it first happened, a lot of people were like, well, how we gonna and what we gonna, and even had some friends say, man, I know who's having a hard time, and I said, who? They said Tre'sure, and I guess because they looked at it that all of them that's known me, I've been working for so long, and when they see my performances, I'm so passionate about what I do, and it's like that if I don't have it, I'll just die, you know.
Yeah.
But they only see one side of me. I'm a lot more than that. This is what my love and my passion is, but you know, before I was able to sing a note and learn to play an instrument, I was a human being that just wanted to live and love and, you know, and enjoy life.
Yeah.
So God sort of has reflect back to that right there. You know what I'm saying? You know, the basics of life, what I've given you, what I've blessed you with. So totally. they had me totally wrong. Yeah, I miss it. I'd go back tonight if I could, but where I'm at now, I just take it, you know, just take it as it comes and keep it moving. I don't, you know, I said I'm in a better position than most. One being financially, my wife and I we own a couple properties where we're not making nothing off of those right now, but you know, we're both retired military. So it's something that we have to, you know, to live off of, you know, as far as being able to have a roof over our head and food to eat and things like that, and you know, and bills covered. You know, I mean, we're fine. I am concerned with a lot of my lot of my peers and fellow musicians out that didn't have nest eggs, or some that I was always advising to, hey, do a little side job and save $25 a week or something like that. You know, had they done that through the years, they'd had something to kind of like hold them over a little bit, but they're living gig to gig to gig, man, and that could be a little tough.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to what you said about being a human being first, I've actually been curious. I'm glad you're sitting down with me, because I've actually been curious to hear your story, because you've done a variety of things. Like I know you were the lead singer of L.T.D. band, right? And you've done the military. Like what's the Tre'sure story? You were born, and then what happened?
Man, you know, I'm working on memoirs and taking notes for my book. And only reason is because I've been pushed. Can you hear the wind blowing in there?
No, not at all.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you can hear it blowing. But only reason that I even tapped into that is because people would ask me like, man, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. And I'm like, write a book for what? You know, I mean, I just feel blessed to be alive, and you know, but then you realize that I've done some speaking, you know, in a public forum before, and also, you know, becoming a sort of like a you know, motivational speaker type of stuff because of my life. I didn't realize it, how people would find your life so interesting. You know, from a kid, I'm the fourth child of 8, single parent. Mother raised 8. She raised 8 children by herself.
Wow.
My dad lived 3 blocks from me. This is being about 3 blocks from me. Never claimed me because she divorced him before I was born, before I was conceived. He was like maybe 15 years older than her. So she was young, and then by the, you know, he's alcoholic by the time that she was 25 when she had me. And so, you know, and you know how it goes back in the day, you know, he's still coming around getting the goods. So I'm conceived. And so because they're no longer married and she's like, you know, done with him, he's like, well, that ain't my baby. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Look just like him and her. And, but anyway, this was in Dayton, Ohio. Okay. Dayton, Ohio. And my mother always told me what I really love and respect. My mother be 88 years old in November, and we still have talks weekly. I mean, just down to earth conversation. And what I respect about my mom a lot, you hear a lot of women talk about their, you know, kids and bad mouth them about their dads. Excuse me, let me wipe my nose. This wind blowing and allergies and stuff. I'm sorry, but it's okay. It's that she's never really bad mouthed me. She said, you know what, your dad's a good man. His problem is he's not responsible, you know, about taking care of his family, and he's an alcoholic, you know, and that's not the life that I want. So we make choices. Just like when I was married before, and I went to my mother complaining, and you know, like, and she did this or she cheated, and she said, well, you know what, that's who she is. But you know what, to be honest, I know you're my son. You know better. You're young, both of you stupid. If you either deal with it or not. And it doesn't mean she said it doesn't mean that she's a bad person or you're a bad person. You're not meant to be together. Don't ruin each other's lives. Go on your separate ways, and there's a lot of life out there left. You know, so that's the type of person she is. So she told me so I wouldn't have no ill feelings about him. She said, he's just not a responsible guy, you know, so just move on. I got you. And I just took it for that. I walked by his house on my way to school as a kid from kindergarten to graduation, and only seen him a handful of times. Hey, Dad, what's up? He go, hey, how you doing? And just, you know, I mean, but at 12 years old, you know, it bothered me up until I was like 12. And then I just realized, you know, my mother said, don't even worry about it. You know, I told you. And what made me grow up is I have 2 older sisters. One worked for the prison system down in Miami. She just retired. One was assistant vice president at Amtrak, human resources, and an older brother who's, you know, he's back in Dayton now, but they left home when I was about 12, and that left me with my mother to help raise 4 siblings under me. So I was the man of the house. We're getting out of school. My mother's going to work. So all that responsibility was on me. And I grew up in a town where there was a lot of music, a lot of musicians. Dayton, Ohio is known as the land of funk, if you know, and they started a funk museum there. So many musicians around my area. That was the thing. It was like a lot of little towns. you either worked at General Motors, you became a star athlete, or you became a musician. or you was a pimp or gangster. Those pretty much were your choices, man. So, you know, I chose the music and then became an athlete. But at 10 years old, I had a teacher who saw my artistic ability, because I used to draw and paint. And she came to my house, a white teacher, came to my house and told my mother that your son's is exceptional. I want to pay for him to go to the Dayton Art Institute for exceptional children. So they enrolled me. Then they offered me a scholarship to go back the next year. I used to go Saturday mornings year round, stay with my grandmother, because she lived close to the Dayton Art Institute. And my brother would have to walk me to the Dayton Art Institute. 10 years old, walk me to the Dayton Art Institute. I would be in there, and I was the youngest one in there, and they would actually have nude models in the middle of the floor with, you know, sheer drapery or satin drapery, and we're drawing. Now the average 10-year-old boy would be like, I wish I was. But then when I looked around me and I'm looking at older people in there, and everyone is so like just like into the art of it. Right. So I grew up fast. So it just like, you know, looking at a woman's nude body like that, just, you know, even though I'm, you know, one side is going like, wow, that's what they look like. So I'm drawing it with them. I mean, that was okay to them. I guess. I mean, that was a trip to me. But but growing up around a lot of musicians and stuff, I started to, the music thing just get inside my soul. And I just started singing around the house. My brother would kind of encourage me, and then started, you know, guys in the neighborhood who had guitars, I'd go over their house and learn how to, you know, hey man, show me this chord, show me how to do that, how to tune a guitar, how you hold the sticks on the drum. And I started playing at everybody's house because I couldn't afford any. And then I became pretty good at all of it. And then I started my first band, which was right around 11 years old. And all the guys in the band were like 2-3 years older than me. So I was a leader from the beginning. And by the time
I'm sorry, do you still paint or sketch?
You know what? I don't. I just doodle, but I don't do it seriously. And everybody's telling me you should, you know, really do that. But I said, I guess the time will come if it's meant for me to really do it, you know.
Totally. But it has to happen organically. Like you have
organically, just get to that point like, oh man, you know what? I don't even want to mess with this music like that no more. I want to paint and art, draw, and, you know. But but it was a big thing. It was a big thing, man. And my brother always, every time he talked to me, he just like, dude, I don't believe you don't draw. No, he just can't see it. But the music,
you're like, I don't have time. I gig too much.
Man, I'm thinking about musical arrangements mostly and things like that all the time. But at 12 years old, I had a band, and then there was an older group of guys. What was it? The band was the name of your band? The Young Determinations.
It does exactly what it says on the side of the can.
The Young Determinations, and that was it. The Young Determinations. You know how the names were back then. I laughed at it now too, but I did that, and then another local group was called the Mixed Emotions, and these guys were like 18, 19 years old, and it was a girl and 2 guys, and they didn't have a band, and they loved
Emotions. That's the perfect name for a group of teenagers.
Yeah, and my you know, my band, you know, I was 12, the other guys were like 13, 14, 15, and so we joined up with this other band, older band, with these singers, and we took on the Mixed Emotions name. And at 12 years old, and my first professional show, we did a lot of little stuff around town, but the first professional show was opening up for the Delphonics.
Oh wow!
Who I still talk to. One of the brothers, you know, the Delphonics was 2 brothers and always the third singer, but I think they separated. They have 2 different Delphonics now. But talked to one of the brothers, Wilbur. He and I, you know, we talked back and forth on Facebook. And even I was live a couple weeks ago, he chimed in. And so I made a theme out of it while I'm walking. I said, this is Wilbur, Hart from the original Delphonics, and he's going like, hey, what's up, man? Blah, 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 blah. And then I started telling the story about 12 years old opening up for them. And that was really that's when I really knew this is what I wanted to do. Because the girls were screaming and hollering for me, but when they came out, Lord have mercy, it was like, I said, oh, this is what I'm going to do, man. You best believe it. And then I had everybody chime in and say what was their favorite Delphonic song. And everybody was just telling what their favorite. And he chimed in and said what his was. I don't know if you remember the song. Hey Love. Do you remember that?
I do.
He said that was his favorite. I think because, his brother sings the high tenor stuff and he sings the second tenor stuff. Yeah. And, if you think about it, that was him singing most of the song, Hey love, turn your head round, take off that frown, you're in love.
That's like really like you have nowhere to go but either up or retire. Like starting your career at 12, opening for the
Delphonics. Man, and they were big. Delphonics was big.
So how long did the Young Determinations stay together?
I had the Young Determinations, for maybe about a year. About a year before we hooked up with the Mixed Emotions. And I went from there. At 14, I left that group, and I hooked up with another group in town who already was established called Crystal Love. Mm-hmm. And Crystal Love had two guys that I knew from the neighborhood, and they were, one's 2 years older than me, the other was like 5 years older than me, and they were a singing group. They fired one of the singers, and they were looking for a first tenor. I was like the choir boy back then. Really just all high tenor. And these guys end up being two of my closest friends today, and one of them I talk to every day. Ronald Nooks, he ended up playing keyboard for the Ohio Players for about 25 years or so, and William Shelby, who's my closest friend. He lives in Phoenix now, and he's with Lakeside, but he wrote a lot of the hit songs on the Solar Records. And the Beat Goes On, It's a Love Thing, Second Time Around by Shalimar, stuff with Gladys Knight. He was one of the he and Leon Silvers were the founder of the group Dynasty. I just begun to love you. Yeah. So, and he's been getting calls to go do a Dynasty thing. And we talked last night. We talked 1, 2 in the morning. We were out walking. He said, man, if they call and they get serious and want to sign them checks, man, bring the band, we go as Dynasty. But
I love it. So at what point did you join the military?
What happened was, being the man of the house, I never did drugs, never drank, never smoked, never did anything, but I did like pretty girls. That was my thing. So well, I end up getting my percussionist sister pregnant in the band that I was in when I was 16. The child was born when I was 17. And man, that was, so I would, I'm thinking about ended up going to college on a track scholarship. I was, world-class sprinter hurdler eventually. But I went to college for a year, worked at General Motors during the summer. And then I, just looking at things, and my mother said, you know what, you want some security. You don't want to do the starving musician thing. You may want to think about going into the military. And that's what I did. I said, well, I'll go in for a few years and, see what's up and blah, blah, blah. But 3 years turned into 26.
Wow.
But while I was in the military.
And which branch were you in?
The Army.
Okay.
U.S. Army. I put bands together nearly every place that I went. And if I couldn't have a band, I'd go sing karaoke. I'd do whatever I needed to do. because I needed that fix, you know.
Yeah.
That's who I was. That's who I was. So I put bands together, and I had a band in 1983 in Germany. The band ended up being, we ended up winning several competitions and was recognized as best show band Europe in the Army, and then best show band in the Army worldwide. From that band, the Army decided they wanted to do the Army Soldier Show.
Okay.
I ended up being the first soldier selected for the Army Soldier Show, for the first touring show. First, they flew me from Germany to Fort Myers, Virginia. We did a rehearsal. They picked 28 people worldwide. I was the first of 28. And one of the features in the whole, it was a 90-minute production. And one of the featured parts in there was me doing Billie Jean.
Uh-huh.
And I got a lot of, man, it was crazy. It was
Did
crazy.
you moonwalk?
Huh?
Did you moonwalk?
Yeah, moonwalk. Yeah, I did. You know, one of the things about that show was, though, we had some great entertainers and singers and dancers in there. So I ended up doing kind of the modern dance thing, like Leroy from Fame. I ended up doing that type of stuff, you know. And I did everything. I did so much in there. It really opened me up as an artist, you know. Things that I was like some of your background in the theater type of things, stuff like that. I wasn't into, but they opened me up there because it was that environment. But I brought the funk to it. But I tell you, one of the things that was really challenging is that we did this show. It was about a year doing this show, and there was a girl, I never forget her name, Holly-Anna Taylor. She did And I'm Telling You.
Uh-huh.
In the production, and she sang the song before I would come out, and I was like, "Can't y'all put that song somewhere else?" Cause folks, she was both Jennifers on steroids.
Really?
But I'm telling you, I'm standing on the side of the stage just shaking my head, going like, "Why? Why?" I mean, she had that place in an uproar, man. You're gonna love. I mean, oh my God. It was like, where do you go from there? Y'all might as well just close the show. But in reality, they did it right, because the only thing that could follow that was somebody doing Billie Jean. We're talking about on tour 84, 85.
Yeah.
Billie, that was the hottest. Michael Jackson. I don't care what you did, but you know, but I just felt the pressure. So
Absolutely.
I helped them direct it the way I thought it should go. So what they would do when I would come out on stage, I tell them, take the lights down and just to have a spotlight on her and I, on our face.
Yeah.
That's to calm the people down. And then I just say, thank you, Miss Holly-Anna Taylor, and I hand her a rose. And everybody goes, oh. And then they had these stairs, and the spotlight follows me, and they start going do 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 do, and I go, she's out of my life. Walking up the stairs, right, in this spotlight, and then when I get to the top of the stage, I do hit this high note, and then life, and then all of a sudden, poof, pop, poof, pop, and I'm doing the Michael Jackson thing. Hey, they forgot about it, and I'm telling you this.
That's amazing. There's one thing that no one's ever been able to accuse you of, and that's not knowing how to put on a show.
Oh,
and so
man.
we're doing that then as well. Is that something that was intuitive, or is it something that you just always had your eyes open and just seeing things on television like, oh, that's like really cool. I need to store that in the bank here. That's really awesome. That's
and you know, and I consider myself to be unselfish about it, because I like the whole production. I like production. I like everything to be on point. I like the best of everybody to be seen, you know, and them to give it to the people, because that's who you're performing for. But going back to everything, just kind of make it sort of quick for you, that, you know, after I did that Soldier Show, I continued to put bands together. While I was over in Germany, I met a guy named Johnny Davis, who ended up being singing most of the lead vocals on the Milli Vanilli project.
Uh-huh.
And I had my own band, and I was doing originals too. So I would go to the studio, and they would have me, just ad lib to grooves.
Uh-huh.
And then later on, I heard some things on the radio I thought was familiar to what I had done.
Like, wait a second.
And about 2 years ago, this was back before this is like in 85 or so or something like that. But about 2 years ago, I got a call from Johnny Davis.
Uh-huh.
And it's been, 25 or 30 years, asking me if I would be interested in going on tour with him and Fabrice. Yeah, because I was around at that time. If I knew anybody who would be interested in taking on the Milli Vanilli Experience show, because they had got the rights to the actually to the name, but it had to be Milli Vanilli Experience.
Right.
And I said I didn't know of anyone, and I'm just doing my thing, and I said, but if you figure it out, he said, man, you could be a part of it, man. I said that would be cool if you find a buyer.
Uh-huh.
But, I haven't heard anything since, but during my time while I was in the military and over in Europe and everything, I had a chance to open up for several headline artists. Open up for some when I met my current wife, who I've been with for 23 years. We met, and she became part of a production team. And then while we were still in the military, back in the late 90s, like 98, they put me opening up for Rome. I don't know if you remember Rome, the artist Rome.
Yeah.
Every time I see your face, it makes me want to sing. And when I think about your love, it drives me crazy. Rome is a very good friend of ours. He was living here for a while. Haven't talked to him in about a year. But and then I ended up opening for Genuine. And my wife was part of the production team that was putting this stuff together. And then once we got out of the Army, moving here, I was hooked up with some guys here, a group called Motley Stone. Money Stone, who's still here in Las Vegas, he was part of a group from Detroit called the ADC Band back in the day. They had about 5 albums. And actually, Money Stone, they call him Money Stone, Stevie Wonder's his first cousin.
Okay.
And he sings and plays keyboards too. And I used to go play in at a Motor City Casino in Detroit, and I would run into Martha Reeves. And she knew that me and Money Stone had worked together. She said, "Tell him get my damn song together." But she would, this is Martha Reeves from Martha Reeves and the Vandellas, and she would always tell me, she said, "Tre'sure, you have no idea." She said, "I thought that back in the day that Money Stone was just as talented as Stevie, Yeah. And now moving fast forward, Money Stone and I are still, we're very good friends, and we're working on stuff as we speak. But since I've been here, I had the chance, I was lead vocalist for a group out of L.A. called Ozone. They were the first band that did Tina Marie's Behind the Groove. And Charles Glenn, who was the leader and founder of Ozone, they came out of Nashville. And Charles Glenn was also Little Richard's bass player for about 30 years.
Oh, okay. I actually just recently met Little Richard's drummer.
From Dayton, my hometown, Dayton. Mark Holland?
Mark, yeah. I literally
I
just met him not too long, maybe in September.
Yeah, Mark Holland. Mark's from Dayton.
Small world.
Small world. Mark Holland.
I met him when I was back home in Los Angeles.
Yep.
Yeah. But so how did you end up, because I imagine, I know just even talking to Sabrina, you guys, as a result of being in the military, have just kind of lived all over the world. How did you end up in Las Vegas?
Well, we were stationed in a place called Fort Huachuca, Arizona, in a town called Sierra Vista. It's like 8 hours from here. And it's an hour from Tucson off the beaten path. And we would, you know, to get away, when I say a small town, it's grown a little since we left. It's still small, but it was a very small town, and it's known as the home of the Buffalo Soldier. And we were in the same battalion, and that's where her and I met. But and we would start taking trips to Las Vegas on like long holiday weekends. And I said, this is where I think I'm going to live. She wanted to go back to LA where she's from. And I said, the cost of living is too expensive. I said, I can't do it. I said, you can stay here or you can go to LA, but I'll be in Vegas. We can have a long, however you want to arrange it. But I'm not going to that high cost of living where my retirement check, I can only get a little 1-bedroom apartment
or whatnot. Yeah.
And then that small town was too small. I was just too small for what I was trying to do. Las Vegas was it. And then we came to an agreement, and this is where we end up landing. And I have no regrets. When I first moved here, I worked at the airport part-time just to have something to do while I was singing with Ozone.
Okay.
Then I met up with a guy, group out of a guy, Larry White, from he worked with the Whispers and Bobby Brown, and he saw me, and then he and I thought that we would be a good match to put a group together that was successful for about 7 years, and it was we had great time together and great chemistry, but over time people's creative energy are in different places, and little things happen. No, sometimes people get a little jealous and all kind of things, and you just can't have those things, and you just got to move on. So I moved on, and I started my own situation, which is Tre'sure and Dreamstone. But during that time, I was offered to go with the group Midnight Star for a little bit. I don't know if you know Midnight Star. Another close friend of mine, Bo Watson, who's one of the lead singers of Midnight Star. They just wanted me to do some shows with them because Bo Watson had come to Las Vegas with Toni Braxton.
Okay.
When she had her residency, and he was her MD. And I think that, after he saw how everything was going down, it wasn't, really cut out for him. So he went on back, so I would have did the Midnight Star thing for a little bit. And me and my friend William Shelby, who's in Lakeside, we had talked about me doing some things with them. And while I was in effect with Larry White is when I got the offer to go do the thing with L.T.D. And then we had a lot of friction about that, but I said, I'm not turning this down. Who gets a chance to go sing with a legendary band like that as the lead singer?
Absolutely.
I said, dude, and everyone, we had fallout about that because I said, they're not going to be, they're not doing a lot of gigs all the time, but what they did do, I wanted to be, a few gigs a year. Oh, and we had great responses. And I mean, to me to be selected, and I didn't even consider myself a baritone like that, like Jeffrey, but I pulled it off. I mean, crowds of 6,000 at the Gibson in LA, and with 12,000 down in South Carolina. Shoot, man. So I just said,
that's amazing, right? Because now you are forever a part of the history of this legendary
on Wikipedia. And then then somebody called me and said they were watching. They went on what is it, the music channels or something like that, or whatever. When they Googled the music channels, what was it?
Like a VH, like an MTV or something.
Something playing L.T.D songs, and they said they're on there and they look on there and my picture's right in the front. I didn't even record the song. I think that's wrong because Jeffrey sang the song.
But you'll take it. I'll take it.
I'll take it. I'll take it by default.
How did you joining the L.T.D band even come about? Because it sounds like you weren't actually actively seeking it.
See, when you're in the midst of this thing here in music, you start, like you ran into Mark Holland. When I was in Ozone, the Charles Glenn, the leader of Ozone Band, he, you know, he had handfuls of musicians that he worked with. A couple of them happened to be Tommy Organ, who was the guitar player with Michael Jackson, This Is It. Tommy Organ, the guy, the thick guy with the blonde hair, and his brother Derek Organ, the drummer. Now they were also with Chucky Booker as Janet Jackson's band on her Rhythm Nation tour. I don't know if you remember that. They were handpicked by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Well, Tommy Organ and Derek Organ, who are also from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
They've been working with Charles Glenn for years. They're the closest things in the world. And so I think I called Derek one time about something, and then he called me, and we were missing each other for back and forth, because I think it had to do with, I had them play on one of my songs, a song called 8 Days a Week. I have Charles Glenn, Derek Organ, and Tommy Organ playing on the song. But he had called me, I called him back, then he called me, I called him back. We kept missing each other. So I happened to call him, finally catch him. And he said, "What's up, T? What's going on, bro?" He said, "Man, I'm just getting off the plane. I just did a gig with Lionel Richie in Canada." Okay. I was like, wow, okay. He said, "Man, I was thinking about you." He said, "Man," I know what it was. He said, "I was thinking about you because I was talking to my friend, who was a friend of mine, Tafir Hazy, drummer." He said, "They need a lead singer for L.T.D. I said, "Man, I got the guy." And that's how it started. So he said, "Get this guy a call." Because at the time, I think they had Romeo Johnson that sang with them for a little bit, and then Howard Johnson, you know, sang with them for a little bit. But he said they was looking for somebody. So I got a hold of them. We set it up. I went down, did an audition. They gave me like 10, 12 songs to learn. I learned the songs. And when I drove to LA for the audition, they wanted to have me they were playing the Hollywood game. "Oh, okay, just do a little bit of this and then that'll be it." I said, "No, I didn't drive all the way from Vegas to do that." How many songs you guys send me? This has been about 5-6 weeks. I learned about 10, 12 songs, and I knew 70 to 90% of all the songs, and I had my book, everything. I said, "Let's go." I said, "Y'all here to practice? Let's practice. Now, if you don't want to after that, I can live with it, okay? It ain't meant to be." And I looked over, and after I did Love Ballad, I looked at the sax player, Lorenzo Carnegie, and he was kind of teary-eyed. He said, "Man, you sound like a young Jeffrey," you know? And they had a couple of the other guys on Skype and whatever, the guitar player and the trumpet player, these original guys. And they said, "Yeah, man, that guy's it." So we went on. And then I remember we did the show in LA. They had Jeffrey Osborne's brother come, Billy Osborne, come to the rehearsal. And Billy's a genius. I mean, he's so genius that he makes them nervous. And he was in the band and they hired him, you know. But he comes in, because he was mentored by Ray Charles. And he had producing Ray Charles. So Billy comes in and he's watching us. We've gone through rehearsal. We'd already gone through the show about 3-4 times. And he comes in and he stands there. He looks like, you know, like the professor. And they like, "Oh, are y'all ready? Y'all ready?" like, let's go, man. I mean, I understand the guy is good, but you know. So I went through, and he said one thing to me. He said, "Tre'sure, make sure when you do that part on Love Ballad, make it real expressive. Loving you." You know, he was just said, "Make sure that's really." I said, that's how I do it. But I said, we've already gone over it about 5-6 times already. So I'm not, and the show's tomorrow, so I'm not going to blow my voice out. He said, "No." Yeah. He said, I agree. He said, "You know what? L.T.D, y'all need to go get your money. You got you something." You know, and he's never blessed off anybody, ever.
Wow.
Ever. So, you know, but anyway, we 5-year run, and little things started going really weird in the band, and I just felt like, you know, I could see the writing on the wall when I would get interviewed and things like that. And I just said, you know, you just kind of feel in your gut when you know,
And
things aren't
yeah, absolutely.
settling.
5 years is a long time for the same group of people to all work together, right? Because over 5 years, everyone kind of grows and priorities change, and one
Real life
school
happens.
isn't. Everyone grows in their own direction.
Yeah,
For 5 years, it's a pretty
yeah,
chunk.
yeah. And I love the guys to death, you know, and I talk to a couple of them here and there, but you know, I just keep it moving and things. I got to meet a lot of people when we were on the road. I mean, when you're out here and, you know, in a band like that, and a lot of people hadn't seen L.T.D for a while, so they wanted to know who the new guy was. And one of my surreal things is to have my favorite male singer standing on the side of the stage looking at me kind of like, okay, all right. And that's Glenn Jones. You know, and hey, Glenn Jones over there looking like, oh, okay. You know, I was like, oh, I've arrived, you know, in my own way, you know, because I love Glenn Jones, you know, and you know, and I remember when we did that show, it was Glenn Jones, Average White Band, Larry Graham, the Barcades, Lakeside, L.T.D. Yeah, that was that show. Yeah, and I flew home. I was leaving that next morning on the plane, and I'm at the airport, and I ran into a lady who I had met already once before, and it was Wanye from Boys and Men's mom. I'm at the airport, and I run into her, and she says, "Tre'sure." I mean, you know, just the thing that people like that remember you, you know. I said, "Hey, Carla, how you doing?" Her name's Carla Jackson, Wanye from Boys and Men's mom. She said, "Oh, I'm flying to Vegas." I said, "I am too." And I said, "What flight you on?" We were on the same flight. She's on the phone with Wanye, and I met Wanye already. He's like, "Oh, tell Tre'sure I said hi." He said, "Tell Tre'sure I said take care of you, and come to the show tonight when y'all get back." I was like, "Wow." So so we went to the show that night, you know, and it's just the way things happen. But getting closer to, it's a lot more things I could share with you. But the most recent couple years ago was with from that show where I did with L.T.D was Larry Dotson of the Barcades, who decided he wanted to retire. And he called me first, wanting me to replace him. So they flew me to Memphis a few times for rehearsal, and he came and rehearsed with me at my house as well. He and Archie, the background singer. But while I'm there, I'm rehearsing with them, I realized that I could do it, and it would be great. But I was getting, you know, kind of mixed things from him and the bass player who was the original Barcade, that founded the Barcades, that was in the band when they was with Otis Redding, was James Alexander. And so James sort of wanted, he wanted to do something a little different from what Larry Dotson brought. But Larry Dotson was like, study me. Yeah. So it was kind of conflicting a little bit. But there was a guy in Memphis who studied Larry Dotson.
Okay.
And I thought that's who they should go with.
Yeah.
You know, and Larry Dotson fly me back down there again, but I was like, he'll be the better fit. Because, you know, down south they have a certain style of how they do sing with the ow and you know, I'm more of a northern twist.
Right.
Know? I was more Bruno, Usher, whatever, you know, not so much Larry Dotson and Southern Soul. Yeah, you know, they got a different. I can fake it real good, you know, but go use the guy, get the guy that really feels that he wants to be that, and he's been there the past couple of years and doing a great job, from what I understand. They're
totally.
Still doing
and I
good.
think that's one of the good things, like going back to like 5 years being a really great run with a group of people. I think a lot of, you know, as you grow older and as you evolve, like knowing yourself, right? Knowing your strengths as a performer, what your weaknesses are, and also just what you really want to do and what you really will make you happy, and being able to say no to things, even though it means turning down a gig, I think is a really important level of evolution in any artist.
Right.
You know?
and that's the whole thing. So I've been working with another very famous, very well-known artist, and Sue Ann knows him, but I'm not going to mention the name because sometimes you don't want to put too much information out there till it manifests.
Totally.
So
Absolutely.
I'm going to keep that one quiet. But we keep those coals burning right now till it manifests. But I will speak on a show that we're working on with a promoter out of LA for the 5th of September. Now, what we're talking about with the COVID-19, we don't know how that's going to come out, but they're looking at doing it on the 5th of September here in Las Vegas at the Craig Ranch Park.
Okay.
A lot of local talent, stage play with featuring Jammin' J. Lamont, comedian, Miss Arkansas comedian,
Miss Arkansas,
and what's his name? Big Red from the Five Heartbeats.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they're doing a stage play together. This is going to be part of it because this event is taking place from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And we're
like a specific festival, or is it in celebration of something specific, or is it just
what is that, Labor Day? Is that Labor Day weekend?
Oh, I guess that would be Labor Day weekend. Yeah,
Labor Day weekend, and so that's going to take place on a Saturday, and we've been hired as the house band for the headliners. He's still working on a couple of headliners. If he's not able to get a headliner that's fully equipped, then Tre'sure and Dreamstone will support the bands. They're going to hire us to support the band. That's why we're considered the house band. And they're looking at possibly Netflix, and it's definitely going to be live stream. So I think they're looking at live stream. I don't know if they're going to be $20, $25, to watch the thing the whole day. So it's people be hungry for it if it's able to come off, because then again, even though it's going to be live streamed, it's an outdoor kind of amphitheater thing. So people, vendors, and coming in, all of that. So that's the way it's planned right now. So it may or may not happen, and it may have to be moved depending on where we stand.
On what happens with everything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But still planning it out is cool.
Totally. Well, I want to keep this conversation going, but unfortunately, our time on Hot 702.5 FM is about to come to an end because my fellow colleagues, Martini Mondays, are coming on next. Before we sign off on 702.5, where can our viewers find you on the interwebs?
All right, look me up on Facebook. Look us up, Tre'sure, Tre'sure on Facebook, or you could even type in, that is my stage name, and I'll tell you my real one is Mark V. Brown. Hit my page, Mark V. Brown on Facebook, or Tre'sure page, and we're on Tre'sure on Instagram and Twitter, and just follow us, and we're going to be doing a lot of things and new music coming out as well. So look us up, and hope to see you guys somewhere, and be safe out there. All right, mask up.
Absolutely. Tre'sure and I are going to keep on talking, and you'll be able to find the remainder of this conversation tomorrow, anywhere you get your podcasts, and on YouTube at Showtime with Jordan. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next week. Martini Mondays is next. Martini Mondays are next? No, it's an is. Martini Mondays is next. Bye. So, Mark V. Brown, where did Tre'sure come from?
Sabrina and I were when we met, we used to go out and do karaoke because I didn't have a band at the time. And I would go out and do karaoke at this spot. And, Sierra Vista is kind of a little country town, small town. So everybody Wednesday nights karaoke. Pretty girls, cowboy hats, everything. And everybody, singing all sorts of things. But one of my favorite singers too, believe it or not, is Cisco.
Okay.
I like he did a song called Incomplete. I don't know if you remember, you ever heard that?
All I really remember is
the song. Everything in the world that a man could want. Oh man, I got a bank account bigger than the law could allow. Tears are now. It is a nice song. But I go and
I'll have to pay for it.
I would go into karaoke and light this song up, man. I'll be putting my heart and soul in it because it's, go look that up. Incomplete by Drew Hill.
I will.
And I used to sing that song and had those girls crying in there, man. And but anyway, I think I'd gone on an field exercise or something, and because I would go every week, and so I didn't show up one week, and they were asking for me. And come to find out, you know, I didn't know that I had this following. So when I would do this song and these girls be, you know, like, oh my God, the karaoke host, he would go, ain't he a treasure? And they thought that was my name. People are drunk. And even the guys got their beer in their hand and cowboy hat, we want to hear Tre'sure. And I was like, what the hell? Where did he get that from? And it stuck. So then when I opened up, Sabrina working on the production team with these guys, and they put it in, you know, me opening up for Rome first. Everybody said Tre'sure Brown. And they spelled it the correct way that you spell treasure.
Right.
And then I said, nah, I'm a first sergeant in the Army. Tre'sure? That just 1998, okay. The game. Don't ask, don't tell, it's still in effect. Even though I'm straight, it's like I don't want the soldiers out there looking at the first sergeant going like, So I told Sabrina, we got to get with the paper. They got to change that. So what I did is I had them I did the next show the next week with Genuine, and we changed it from Tre'sure to with the spelling that it is now, Tre'sure. Then TRE apostrophe SURE. Tre'sure. You know, give it some, you know.
And it's stuck.
Yeah, give it some manliness.
Right. So you've been Tre'sure since when? Since like in the late 90s?
Yeah, like 98. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a long time. That's a long time. But that's cool. So tell me, like, when you were building Tre'sure and Dreamstone, what was that process like? Right, going from kind of like always, because like working as like a duo is like a double-edged sword, right? Like it can be like really a pain when you guys are totally not on the same page, but at the same time, it's also really cool not to have a sounding board, not to have to totally be responsible for everything. So what was that like, that transition from going from this type of environment to, okay, I'm starting Dreamstone and I'm gonna do it this way?
Well, one thing is I've had since I was telling you the earlier story, I've had bands most of my life that I, you know, as the leader of the band. So being a leader of a band, it was just really learning how to, at the stage of life where you mature and you grow and you learn more, you make mistakes and everything, how to even be a better leader. So being a leader of a band was not a big thing to me, even though it does take its toll on you, because sometimes some personalities are so out there and you can't allow it to disrupt or destroy the core of what you've built.
Right.
Because some people are very toxic and very jealous and very manipulative and selfish and everything, you know. And so when I left the other band, it left on a bad note. So when I started this band, a lot of people wanted to be a part of it because I was in that band for 7 years and made pretty much that band what it was to be, and you know, and the branding of it. So when I started this, I carried it over, and that was it's been what, 8 years, almost 8 years, and I've gone through maybe 50 musicians in and out of this unit who have played with everybody from Michael Jackson, Prince, I mean, oh my God, everybody. Gap Band, Isley Brothers, Jodeci. I mean, everybody's been in this band has worked with so many people, and it's not for everybody. And then a lot of them come in this type of unit. Now, me having been in the military and being a drill sergeant and being a band leader since I was 10, 11 years old, don't help either, because I learned the game, and I've been around a lot of pros, you know, and I learned what to do, what not to do. And by not having or testing vices from drugs and alcohol, I'm always focused. And then coming out of the military, securing an income even makes me more focused. Not that I'm not compassionate that you don't have that, but I know what it takes from my experience for a band to excel.
Right.
And I'm not selfish, because I want to see everybody excel. I want to see everybody be the, you know, my thing is to help make you the best you that you can be. And even if you don't stay in this
Wasn't that an Army slogan?
Be all you can be. That's right. Be all you can be. Be all you can be. I'm just saying, you know, the thing is that I can't be you, you can't be me. And when you come into this organization, it's already a brand and a system. And what you bring to it to enhance yourself, or what ideas that I can have you based on the template of what I've created, is going to make you better somehow. I know it, because I do this passionately. There's not, you know, this is what I eat, sleep, and breathe, you know, so you could take it for what it's worth, and you can give me credit or not, you know, but your gift is your gift. If you don't, you know, I'm not looking for credit out of it. I just look for results, and you pushing yourself, because I look at it, Jordan, because me being an athlete, I was a track athlete for years. And, you know, and when you look at teamwork, when you look at a football team, basketball team, that's the coach's job. He's got all of these players and personalities, and he don't give a darn about who, what, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you might have one real franchise player. You might have a Kobe Bryant, who's your franchise player, or Michael Jordan, or, you know, someone like that, who's the franchise player. But they're there to help keep that focus, and you're there to get everybody to support one another. And you too have the potential to be a Michael Jordan if you work like Michael Jordan. Now, he's naturally gifted in some areas, but you got to know who you are, what you have. And
Absolutely.
you got to take, I don't like to say pride, because in the Bible, pride is looked at as a sort of negative thing.
Well, it's a sin.
I just say it's a sin. It's the bottom line. I just say the passion. Be passionate about it and work hard at it. That's the way I look at it. I don't like to say pride. Be passionate about it.
I think the word you might be looking for is like self-respect, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah. You know, if it's something you really love, you know, I used to think about me saying that before I knew, man, I take pride in this. And then if I hear people say that now, it just kind of like makes me kind of like that. No, pride, no, man. I'm very passionate about this. This is what I love to do, you know. And you have to keep God in the equation, to me, to even be more successful at it. And some people don't. You know, it seems like sometimes the bad guys are, you know, in the lead. And it all depends on how you look at it. Because where are you ultimately trying to go? Where are you ultimately trying to get to? So, you know, being in, you know, you might sound like you're getting the short end of the stick. Just like, you know, we look at people, hey, you like to be a millionaire, I like to be a millionaire. You know, at the same time, you look at people who are millionaires and billionaires and see if they live in a life, but who are they really? You know, when you lay your head down on that pillow at night, are you really comfortable with that person you are?
Absolutely.
And I think some of them have problems with that. Really.
Totally.
But you'll never see that because they dress it up real well.
Right.
You can fly anywhere, you can eat what you want, you can do all this, you do all that, but, you know, and they lie to themselves.
So with regards, you just said something interesting, like, you know, where are you looking to go? What, you know, in a perfect world, post spring break, where do you want to go? What's next for Tre'sure and Dreamstone, for Mark V. Brown?
I think my main thing is leaving this world with a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I have children, I have grandchildren. Music is my passion, and this is, I think this the gift that God's given me. So leave something behind with that. But every stage that I get on is to make a difference. Even though I've had people tell me, things about, when they compliment me or whatever. The thing is my whole thing is to make a difference in those spirits that come to see a show. And my prayer, I pray whatever they hear, see, feel, experience, I'm giving it to God. Whoever you want to be touched that day, that night, or whatever, by what you put in me, for me to be the vessel doing your work, I'm just so grateful that that he blessed me with the gift to be able to do that. It's like I'm on the playground, and I get to touch those souls. And I can't tell you the people that I've talked to through the years who I have gone through so much and sat there and cried on my shoulder, contemplated suicide and all sorts of things like that, man. And I just said, that's just God working through me. That stage is my pulpit. This is my ministry. So I'm not just saying that. I really do mean that. That's, a lot of people, I think, play with it, but this is my ministry. This is my ministry. And, and God gave me what he gave me. I don't try to compete with anybody else's talent. Somebody might not like the way I look, sing, dance, smell, whatever, attitude, whatever. But I have to like me. That's when I go back to, no matter how much money you make. When I lay down, my head down on that pillow, I don't have no problems.
I don't think that there's anything left to be said. I think that's the perfect way to conclude this. I think that's perfectly well said.
Peace of mind, brother. That's what it's. There you go. You hit it.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Jordan. I really appreciate it, man. Getting to talk about some of these things that be bottled up, and people get to know a little bit more about you. But I appreciate you, man. Love you. Be safe yourself, and hug my Sue Ann for me, since I can't hug her. Y'all over there in the same space. I can't touch her right now.
All right, I'll see you later. And my best to Sabrina.
All right. God bless, man. We'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.